Welcome to this week's astrology report. I am Jody Shirami at astropod_cast. Welcome to this week. This is the last full week of July, and we are now in the beginning of Leo season, which started on July 22nd, which was last week. I think it was last Wednesday. Last Tuesday was the beginning of Leo season. So welcome to Leo season. Hear yourself roar. Stand in your own sovereignty. Love yourself. This is what Leo is here to show us. How to be childlike. Leo, the fifth house of the zodiac wheel, rules over children, sports, games, integrity, honor, truth. Leo is not the only sign that stands in their truth. Aries also does that. And some other signs also, which we'll talk about as the show goes on. So today is July 25th, and the sun at 2 degrees of Leo after the new moon on Thursday, where the moon also was here opposing Pluto at 2 degrees retrograde in Aquarius. But now the moon has moved on, and now Leo is still opposing Pluto since Thursday and Friday today, and will tomorrow and into Sunday. This is a pretty big opposition, and it is definitely karmic in nature. And also the Leo moon, having moved on from its opposition to Pluto, is now conjunct retrograde Mercury. The Virgo moon is a earth sign, so the moon will be very practical here and hardworking and truthful, but can get too caught up in work like Capricorn can. So that's Virgo moon on the 26th, which is Saturday. So that might be a good day for me to do a little planting because the new moon just occurred. And so this is the time to plant in your garden. And in Florida, we plant for the spring season when it's fall here, because that's the time when our weather here is the most like fall up north. So now we're starting seeds for things like tomatoes and lettuce, and things that like the cool weather of the spring, which is now the fall in Florida. And then on the 27th, which will be Sunday, Venus, who is in Gemini, will sextile Eris in Aries as it prepares to enter Cancer. So Eris is again the sister to Mars, who was not invited. So Venus sextiling Eris here is giving some love to those that are disenfranchised, those that are not included, those that are not invited. So Sunday is a good day to give love to people that you may feel need it because they're on the sidelines. They're wallflowers. You know, they're not as outgoing sometimes, so they need love too. And then on Monday, the 28th, Venus was sextile Chiron. So Venus again in Gemini is going to sextile Chiron, the comet, the healing comet, the self-healing. And so here we're going to be able to help in terms of healing ourselves. We can be nicer to ourselves here with Venus here. We'll have a little bit clearer idea of what we need to be happier in our body, because the sun again is in Leo. It's about ourselves, about who we are inside, our inner inside. As the sun's in Leo every year, this is the time to really give yourself a tune-up, like bringing your car to change its oil. This is a good time, and especially this year and coming up for the next decades or so, it's a really good time to really check out your body and give it a tune-up, which everyone has to do. And then Virgo moon is going to conjunct the south node. Because again, the south node's in Virgo as the north node is in Pisces. So this is karmic. Anytime the nodal axis of the moon is activated, when it's in its new area every 18 months of balancing, this time it's balancing the Virgo, which is grounded energy, with a little bit of the extra dreamer here, who is the Pisces person, who has no boundaries, who can go everywhere they want, underworld, upper world, middle earth. So here we have this person that is like almost like air, but they're water, and they're the ocean. So now we have the ocean that can evaporate into air. It can freeze up in the Arctics, the polar or the south, and it can be the ocean, which gives us life and food. So we have this situation where Virgo rules over our stomach and our health. And so we need to balance this. And with the Virgo moon, which is our emotions, we're all going to feel it as the Virgo moon conjuncts the south node. We're going to have to release things here in Virgo that is no longer good for us. And the moon emotionally will help us to release some of these things that we may be attached to, like having chocolate whenever we want it. Because again, Virgo rules our food and what it is that we think about. So maybe we have to release thinking too much about certain things, becoming obsessive, which can easily happen during this time of retrograde planets because everything's kind of at a standstill, but stronger. The energy's stronger. It's not moving. So it's like a signal. Now like it's like so we can hear it, and so we have to figure out, oh my God. So don't let this get to you too much. You have time here, especially because Mercury is retrograde in Leo, which rules over Virgo, which is ruling over this Virgo moon. So the retrograde is going to help us also process information for the next 3 weeks. Whatever comes up for you right now, you'll have 3 weeks to at least think about it. Besides the moon meeting up with the south node, it's also going to meet up with Mars, who's also at the south node. And here again, our emotions is going to be affected by giving energy to Mars, our actions. And again, Mars is retrograde in Leo, moving backwards. The Virgo moon is also meeting up with Mars as it basically met up with the south node around the same time. And so our emotions and our actions and what it is we believe to be good and bad, because again, Virgo is about that, because it's Mercury at a high octave and it's a grounded Mercury, so it thinks about the long term, and it is a mutable earth sign, so it is available here to bring in the harvest. This is the time of Virgo, the harvest. So this is a very karmic time meeting up with the south node here. What else are we going to have to change and look at? One of the things I would think collectively is how we grow our food, how we're having problems with chickens getting sick, how we're having problems with nutrition, and how certain foods are poisonous, but it's still in our food sources that we buy at the store. So we're going to really be thinking about these karmic things that companies have done to us, feeding us too much corn syrup, feeding us things that are not good for our bodies. So this is a karmic time. And again, all these things is what we're looking at right now as these planets are retrograde, because the moon is always retrograde, right? So now we're looking at these things, and it's time for us to process them until next year when things start moving again, and we can start thinking, well, this is what we need to do right now, and we can start preparing to implement them next year, especially about our food and our health, right? And so then this again is bringing up an intellectual stimulation, as Rick Levine would say. And that makes sense because, again, my mind is completely peaked with these things, because I'm a Virgo. I'm born in the very last minutes of Leo into Virgo. So this really affects me, and I really understand what's going on. And I've been feeling very tired because of so much information being downloaded from Uranus being in Gemini. And Gemini is my midhaven. So all these planets are really affecting me. I have Saturn in Aries, I have the moon in Pisces, and I have my rising in Libra. So all these things are going to be very activated this week, the first week of Leo season. And there's going to be a kite configuration here because, again, Venus is going to have a mini sextile to Uranus and Gemini. Uranus and Gemini is going to have a little mini sextile to Saturn and Neptune. Saturn and Neptune are having a trine to Pluto and Aquarius. But anyways, the whole thing looks like a kite. And the chart reading, once you start to listen and learn, it becomes easier to picture in your head so you can think about how to express it. But unless you really look at the charts, which is a deep diving study that takes years, and I've been doing it for 2 years now studying it, I'm getting close to understanding, but I don't think you really can ever understand it all because it is a science, and as we know with science, there's always changing variables, and with the planets always shifting and changing. Once you start recognizing that pattern, it could take maybe 7 years. I've been studying the charts really crazy, obsessively for 2 years. So I think I have about 5 more years where I can really talk about the charts without conferring with all the astrologers that I admire, which is, Pam Gregory, who just reached her 400K followers. Congratulations, my hero. And also, the other person is Heather Emsworth, who's out of Boston, and she's awesome. And then, of course, Rick Levine. So these are the real gurus to me, the people that have been doing it, it seems like, for a long, long time. And so I hope to reach that point someday, and I will say it right now, as it is Leo season. I would like to reach that stage someday. That July 30th kite configuration, again, it's going to occur with the Libra moon as it squares Venus, opposes Saturn, Neptune, and then trines Uranus and Pluto. This is a huge configuration on the 30th. And it's really going to bring a lot of stimulation to our minds and what it is we're thinking about for the next future that we are now in. And again, we are in that situation where we are moving forward but stopping at the same time because a lot of these outer planets are in retrograde, and Mercury's in retrograde, and Mars is in retrograde. So we have a lot of things going on where we have to really assess and look at stuff logically with our minds and see if our heart likes it. And if our heart likes it because it serves our soul, then our spirit will make it happen. So that's where we're at on the 30th of July. Also, Mercury, which is retrograde in Leo, will be moving back to meet up with the sun and have a Cazimi where it goes into the heart of the sun, and you can't see Mercury because it is behind the sun from Earth. So it's on the opposite side of the sun from Earth. So it's a Cazimi. And whenever Mercury is around the sun and has a Cazimi like this, many, many things happen to the planet Earth. And after watching Stefan Burns, a geophysicist, talk about Mercury going behind the sun, it's almost as if when the energy is gone from Earth because the sun's blocking Mercury, our Earth somehow is affected, and the people, all of us are affected, especially us that are ruled by Mercury. That would be Gemini and Virgo people. And also Aquarius, because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. We're very affected, and it affects us in different ways, and it affects the Earth in different ways. And so this Cazimi is going to be a little bit karmic, or a lot karmic, because it's in this kite configuration the same day that I just spoke about. Also, before we leave this day and go to July 31st, the very last 2 minutes of the 30th, Venus enters Cancer. So here we have Venus getting ready to meet up with Jupiter in Cancer as she moves along, because she's not retrograde. Venus entering Cancer, preparing to meet up with Jupiter, is going to be one of the best days of the year. And so we will talk about that a little bit more next week. There's a lot of stuff coming up next week that's really going to be intriguing to see what happens. So on the 31st, July 31st, the very last day, at 7:41 p.m. is when Mercury will be having its Cazimi with the Leo Sun at 8 or 9 degrees, where the Sun is right now in Leo. So this is very intense. Even though Venus is in Cancer now, we are feeling, because Cancer again is a cardinal water sign. So Venus is feeling happy here because she loves the same things Cancer does, and Jupiter is exalted. So when these two meet up, Venus and Jupiter, is going to be a heavenly day for our hearts. We're going to feel very happy, and it's Leo season where the heart chakra is. And we're going to feel like little kids. So we're going to be handling this and feeling this occur the next week. But before then, we're going to have this little almost slap in the face with Mercury Cazimi behind the Leo Sun. Again, this is another karmic type of situation with Pluto being involved all this week. And again, Leo Sun is still opposing Pluto, which is a very karmic area already. Whenever you're dealing with any other planets, it's already karmic, right? But with the Sun dealing with it, Leo Sun, we're dealing with our ego in terms of, hey, everything I say has to go. I'm the king. I'm the one, right? So this, and you can already see that happening in the outer world this week with the Sun coming up against Pluto. And the Sun is about ourselves, or who we are. And Pluto is about death, and the Sun is about life. The Sun is life-giving, and Pluto is death. Rules over nuclear energy. And we see how powerful nuclear energy is. And the Earth itself has been absorbing some of this Plutonic energy from nuclear warheads and such. And so I do believe that on this day, next Thursday, that something could happen. That could be when the volcanic eruption happens, because again, Pluto rules endings that are permanent. And so with so much cosmic energy happening, all these earthquakes that have been happening, and all this rain, because again, Neptune and Saturn are in Aries at a very critical degree of 0 to 2 degrees. And now they're heading back to 29, 28, 27 degrees of Pisces. We could be dealing with tremendous amount of flooding all over the world, which we already are, but even more so as hurricane season heads in here to America. America is already dealing with a lot of flooding, a lot of fires, and all of that's bad for the air that we breathe, bad for our homes, because now we can't stay clean. There's been a lot of lives lost all over the world, and the slaughtering in Gaza is not ending, and now that war is spreading out. And Uranus has just entered Gemini, and Uranus, whenever it enters Gemini, which is the collective intelligence, because again, Gemini rules information, communication. So this collective communication hub that we use, which is Gemini, to talk to each other and share information, is also getting disrupted by Uranus's electricity, lightning striking the Earth, because it stalls communication by bringing down the internet, by bringing down wires, electrical wires. It stops the roads from being passable by flooding and getting into car accidents because the roads are slippery. So Mars is now the collective energy, and the collective energy wants the truth. Mars is now tired and wants to know the truth, and Mars is kind of pushing us to act now, which is a good thing, because again, the planets are all trying to support us to do the right thing. So Mars wants us here to be uncomfortable and start looking into why we're uncomfortable with these things that are happening, the news that we hear, or whatever's going on. Why are we uncomfortable? Mars wants us to think about that as it squares Mercury. And as we head into Friday, the Scorpio Moon will still be here. And so the Scorpio Moon, again, is going to be ruled by Mars and Pluto. And that's where my Mars is in Scorpio. So my Mars is a very intense sign. If you have Mars in Scorpio, like me and one of my sons, it's a very intense sign. And if you get into a fight with someone, it's like, it's like, you don't stop. You never are going to let the other person win. That's the type of tenacity you would have with Mars and Scorpio. So right now, think about Mars and Pluto and what they're doing in the outer world. Mars is a personal planet. Pluto is a collective planet. So we are being asked to take care of what's inside of ourselves and also help change the world for the better. And that is really what's going on right now. And we've talked about how I compare this to Macbeth, the play by Shakespeare about a Scottish lord who has just lost his daughter, his little girl. And then a war comes on, and his king, King Duncan, wants him to help fight this border problem, border skirmish they're having. So Macbeth, having a nice little castle himself and a bunch of men that he commands, goes and fights in this war. And during the war, his oldest son, his heir, is murdered in the war. So he is at his wit's end looking for his son, and then he finds his son after the battle's over, and he finds his son dead. And then he's at his wit's end, and it gets all misty and dark, and 3 witches appear. And the witches prophesize that he will become king. And so this helps him feel a little bit better about what's happened today with his own son. So he heads home, and when he heads home, he tells his wife of the prophecy, and she runs with it, and she also is grieving, just like her husband, Macbeth. And so Shakespeare paints the picture, and then you have to figure out what's going on with what's happening to these two. And so they run with the prophecy that he will be king, and then they devise a way to make it happen. Whatever the witches said can be construed many ways, as most prophecies are, right? Because they're usually kind of riddles, prophecies, right? They're not straightforward. And you have to kind of figure it out what they mean. But again, like everything is up for interpretation, right? What is the single thing about interpreting something is you, the human, yourself, the sun and Leo, yourself, your mind, Mercury, your values, Venus, your actions, Mars. And then the outer planets are like what you have to know unconsciously, how you were raised, how you're born, because it's karmic energy from your past, your relatives. So here you have to gauge, what does it mean? Does it mean I go and kill King Duncan? Or does it mean King Duncan dies and I get put up as king? right? But they interpret it as they must kill the king and make it happen so. So they invite him over to their castle, and that night Macbeth kills the king, King Duncan. And then they pretend the next day that they didn't do it. They didn't know what happened. Someone did it. So then they went out searching to see who actually killed King Duncan. But now we are at the part, like last week I was saying how we're at this point. And so now this week we're at the point where we are really looking at the prophecy. And we are really trying to understand how this has happened. What is the truth? And if you notice out in the real world, everyone wants to know the truth about the Epstein files. It's the only thing in America right now that is uniting the very left and the very right. Whereas everyone in the middle has always known this should be released, and we've always known that something's going on, that both parties are guilty. I mean, it's not surprising to find out that President Clinton was on the plane or was at any of his parties. I mean, you saw what he did at the Oval Office with the younger woman. So this is something that men have been dealing with for a long, long time, this desire for younger women. And I believe it goes back to the time of when women would have a baby and die in childbirth. Now the man would need another wife, and he's going to go again find a woman that's childbearing because he's going to want more kids. And if his wife's had 6 kids and she passes away, he might not get another wife, but he probably will because he'll have needs. That's what men will say, I have needs. And so we see this happening since the caveman years, I believe, where as a girl is becoming fertile, she is a virgin. And the Virgin Mary, even in the gospel of the Christians, they speak of Mary being a virgin. And Jesus was made through a light from God. So we've heard this many times where the woman is not sullied. She's pure, but somehow she still is pregnant. How? How are we ever going to deal with this? So now we need to know the truth. We need to look at the prophecy of what a king is, of how a king becomes a king, and what makes him a king. And why is the wife always supporting the king to be evil? Is she evil too? Or are they both just demented in their sadness, in their despair? Which is what we'll all start to feel, according to Rick Levine. Coming up pretty soon is despair. Because these things that are happening, these configurations are very powerful. And if you're not in tune with who you are, in tune with the workings, the energy of the world, you may get surprised, like I did when I was younger, to know why I was in a car accident and why that happened to me. And so astrology can help you understand that certain days for you, yourself, another person, whoever it is, they can look at their astrology once they understand their charts deeply to see how their lives are going to be affected that day by that planet. So this is something that is really going to become more prominent as time goes on. Astrology is going to become a science that's taught in colleges, and it's just going to happen. It's destined to happen. It's karmic because the people a long time ago were using it 20,000 years ago. We've been on this earth 200,000 years now. They were using it back then. And then they had the earth turn over itself and freeze. So the earth is getting ready to turn over itself. And so hopefully by 200,000 years of living on earth, us humans have figured out how to survive this crisis together, not in spite of. Okay? And there are a lot of humans now, and there's a lot of things going on that we have to address, and it's going to be beginning now. And then, like I've spoken about the planets going retrograde, the bigger ones. Saturn's going to go retrograde September 1st, which is only a week from Friday, August 1st, when I'll be back again. It's only 4 more weeks. So we've got 5 weeks right now before Saturn retrogrades and starts to head back into Pisces on September 1st. And then it's going to be followed by Neptune on October 22nd is when Neptune will head back into Pisces, its home again. And these will be at 29 degrees again, 28 degrees again, 27 degrees again. So we're really dealing with a lot of help from the universe in getting to review what we should have done then, what we did do then, if we liked it, do we want to change it. This will be the time. And then Uranus will be moving back on November 8th. And Uranus would be moving back into where it just came from, Taurus. And again, that's the Earth sign. Again, at 0, then 29, then 28. And Uranus hasn't moved far. So Uranus is really hanging out in these early degrees. So, and then everything will be moving forward starting February 20th when everything launches, everything takes off, the fuse is lit. So, I'm not trying to hurry you, but I'm just trying to say that things are happening quickly. And I sometimes will feel like I'm sitting there doing nothing when I'm trying to rest my brain. And I've just recently gotten out of my own head in terms of, hey, it's okay to rest. Nothing can happen just right now anyways. And I've been able to get a lot of things done, like my permaculture garden, my food forest, I've gotten a lot of stuff done. But again, plants take time to grow, especially a forest, a permaculture forest. I know my moringa plant out there right now is about 12 feet tall. And I'm going to chop it down as we head into the hurricanes when they start to come around. I will cut it down and moringa will grow right back. And all my other plants are doing well. Like, I don't think my dragon flower took to fruiting because I don't think it could propagate itself. It needs another flower to help it. I tried with the pollen. But again, that's why gardening and gardeners tend to be calm and relaxed people, because that's why they garden, because it gives them peace of mind. It gives them time. It gives them planning, thinking, and happiness when we get a fruit or we get whatever we want to get from that plant. And all this rain is great. In the summertime in Florida is now getting to 100 degrees. It's starting to get really hot today as we head into August. And last year we moved here August 1st. And these final days of July was when we got here. About 3 days before August 1st is when we arrived here last year. So we were here almost a year. And if I am to look at my yard from this year to last year, it is tremendously healthier. It's less hot around my house. My AC is not working as hard. I have left most of the things alone in my house in terms of it's been a year. I want to see how everything grows, how things collect. And after this hurricane season, I will assess it and begin fixing up what I think needs to be fixed up in terms of painting, fixing my cement, fixing the stuff around the pool, which is just all for show anyways. It's not really anything wrong with it, just to make it look good. So this is what the planets and the cosmic energy and the karma of humans is coming in to tell me, is that we all want the truth, especially about the Epstein files that are going on right now. And they've been talked about since 2000, 2002, 2003, 2006. And so I believe that a lot of reason hasn't been released is because many prominent politicians are on there and it would sully their reputations. And so we want the truth as Americans in terms of if we've been lied to that this is a democracy. Oh, it's a republic. Okay, is it a republic? So we want to know all these things that's happening, right? I, for one, understand people and know that you can't help yourself sometimes when things are so easy and it's just given to you. As Robert Redford said in The Way We Were, his character Hubble Gardner said, some things just come easily to him, to Hubble Gardner. And sometimes that happens to the very wealthy. Things comes easily to them. And so they just want to matter. They want to have some excitement, some drama, like RFK with the bear that he brought home. Just these things, you just don't know what's going on sometimes. And so that's why when you're raising your children, it's so important to challenge them, make them do hard things, but again, you got to give them a lot of hugs and kisses too. It's a balance. And right now we're balancing the Leo and the Aquarius. The Leo ego, me. I'm the president. I can do what I want. I'm the king. I'm the queen. You wait on me. Right? Or the good part of Leo, the enthusiasm, the optimism for life, the love of little kids, not pedophile, but loving the energy that they bring. And when you have your baby, it's just like they're so innocent, so beautiful, so gorgeous that you can't want to hurt them. But if you do because of your ego, we want to know that. We want to see that truth. Because they know they have to hide it because it's bad, it's evil, right? And then Aquarius, about the collective, about the community. We need to bring our community together by releasing. Okay, once we have what we need to love ourselves as a Leo, our ego is intact, but grateful and humble. Now we can shift. What do we have that we can give to the collective, to the community? What can we do? What can we do to make the world a better place collectively for everyone? So these are the two. This is the most powerful balancing in the world because as you can see, if Pluto is in Aquarius, if Pluto's in Aquarius, there's usually a war. If Mars is in Leo, they're usually over ego, over loving of yourself. Like the president now has Mars in Leo and his ascendant. So you see, too much of a good thing can be too much. So a lot of Leos are too much. They can get out of control. I know because I'm a Leo. But the Virgo in me makes me very humble and more of a Leo artist, where I would want to use my Leo love put it into art, like I do in my poetry, my screenwriting, my drawings that I can do sometimes when I have time, my crocheting, my knitting, my sewing, making my own clothes, making my own garden. So that's what your ego can help you to do, is help others through these ways. So thank you for being here. I'll be back again on August the 1st. Welcome and enjoy this last week of July. And really enjoy this beginning part of Leo season, where this is the Leo Aries decan of the 30 degrees in Leo. So these first 10 degrees is Leo Aries. So again, this is a very big time in terms of Mars having these squares. Mercury whenever there's a square right now, it's very powerful because the Leo Aries energy. And again, with the planets and the cosmic energy, there's a lot of electricity in the air. And my hair will show you, it's just a lot of electricity. And yesterday I was watching the electrical storm, the thunderstorm, and I would say I saw 20 lightning flashes in 1 minute. And it was incredibly crazy. I came in the house and I looked at the other direction out the front of my house, and it was exactly the same. So there were just thunderstorms everywhere, and again, that's coming from the sun, as the sun has released some solar flares our way, and it's due to hit this week into next week. Planets are all signaling that it's a karmic time in terms of the sun also has to heal itself and the earth with all the nuclear energy that we have put into the core of the earth. So I wish you well. I'll see you next week. Take it easy, relax, take care of yourself first so that you can go into the world a happy person, not angry and lashing out at others. Really don't feel guilty for taking time off for your mental health right now if you need to. It's very important right now to try to have a clear head, to see everything as it is without any stress or emotion involved. So the Virgo moon is going to help with that coming in here soon. And the Libra moon will help also because it is an air sign. Libra is an air sign that's about balancing Aries and Libra, which is Venus and Mars. So really take care of yourself this week. Drink lots of water. Stay cool. Avoid going outside if it's 100 degrees, okay? All right. God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate you all. And thank you to my spiritual children for talking to me this week. I really appreciate it.